The galaxy had grown quiet. For thousands of years, empires rose and fell, but one remained dominant, the Xyrian Empire. Their fleets were vast, their technology centuries ahead of every other species. Across countless star systems, aliens whispered about humans, small, emotional, and fragile. Earth was a joke. A speck of blue dust orbiting a yellow sun, hardly worth the time of Xyrian scouts. And yet, on a quiet night, Earth's skies trembled. Massive ships appeared, blotting out the stars. Their designs were alien and terrifying, dark, jagged, and glowing with cold energy. Cities across the planet lit up in panic. People ran into the streets. Airplanes fell from the sky as electromagnetic pulses from the ship's disabled technology. A voice boomed from the largest ship. It was cold, sharp, mechanical, yet with a tone of amusement. Humans of Earth, your species is weak. Your technology is primitive. Prepare to be eradicated. Governments scrambled jets and missile defenses, but within minutes the first human fleets were annihilated. Missile silos, naval ships, even satellites, they were no match for the Xyrian weapons. Panic spread. And yet, amid the chaos, one human stood on the bridge of a small defense cruiser, staring at the alien armada. Captain Elara Voss, seasoned, calm, and fearless, gritted her teeth. "They think we are weak," she whispered to herself. "They don't know what humans are capable of." On the alien flagship, Commander Thalkarn, the Xyrian warlord, observed the small human fleet. "Look at them," he sneered to his council. "They send tiny ships like insects to bite a giant. They will die." But the humans were already moving. Though their ships were small, they were agile, unpredictable. Elara's cruiser darted between energy blasts, using the planet's magnetic field to create interference. One Xyrian destroyer, massive and armored, was suddenly disabled when a precision strike from a human drone overloaded its reactor. "Impossible," Thalkarn growled. "They should be extinct." Back on Earth, civilians watched from screens as the impossible unfolded. The humans were dying, yes, but they were not surrendering. Using guerrilla tactics in space, they struck at supply convoys, ambushed patrols, and hacked alien communications. Every time the Xyrians assumed victory, humans vanished, reappeared, and struck where least expected. In the first week of invasion, humans had already shown something the galaxy hadn't counted on: adaptability. Meanwhile, galactic councils across neighboring systems watched the reports with shock. Species that had suffered under Xyrian rule were whispering hope. Maybe humans are different, some said. On a remote asteroid station, a young human engineer, Kai Redding, worked furiously. His fingers flew across a holographic console. "If we can reverse the polarity of their energy shields just for a few seconds," he muttered, "we can get our plasma torpedoes through. That's all we need. One shot." Elara received his update. Her eyes narrowed. "Kai, do it," she commanded. "Give them a taste of what humans can do." Seconds later, the human fleet launched a counterattack unlike anything the Xyrians had seen. Ships disappeared behind asteroid fields, re-emerging to strike vital points. The flagship trembled as torpedoes found their mark. The Xyrians' confidence cracked, replaced by disbelief. "They adapt faster than predicted," Thalkarn muttered. "This is tactical genius. But it cannot last." Elara's cruiser returned to Earth orbit, battered but alive. She looked down at the blue planet. Cities lay in ruin, billions feared dead, but humanity had survived the first strike. The galaxy had laughed at humans, now it watched in cautious awe. In the shadows of the alien armada, Elara made her declaration, voice amplified across comm channels. "Xyrian Empire, hear me. We are human. You may underestimate us, but we will not fall. We will fight. And one day you will regret every choice you made." Somewhere across the galaxy, spies recorded the broadcast. Alien empires whispered nervously. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and they had something no one else had: resilience and cunning beyond measure. The war had begun. The galaxy had laughed at humans. That laughter would not last. The Xyrian Empire had expected an easy conquest. Humans were supposed to fall in days, perhaps weeks at most. But now, reports streamed in from their scouts and commanders. Earth's defenses, though primitive, were cunning. Small human ships struck with precision, vanished into asteroid belts, and appeared where the aliens least expected. Their tactics were chaotic, unpredictable, and effective. Commander Thalkarn slammed his clawed fist against the hollow table, sending a wave of projected star maps trembling. "Captain Voss is more than a pilot," he hissed. "She is clever. Too clever. In response, he ordered the deployment of an elite Xyrian fleet, the Annihilator Squadron, famed for hunting and destroying insurgent species. Yet even the Annihilators struggled. Human ships coordinated like a single organism, adapting their attacks with lightning speed. On Earth, Ilara Voss convened a council in the Orbital Command Station, a hastily built hub of strategy and defense. Beside her stood Kai Redding, now chief engineer of the counteroffensive, and General Aaron Salas, veteran of multiple planetary defense campaigns. "They outnumber us 10 to 1, Salas warned. "Even with our tricks, we can't hold them indefinitely." Ilara's gaze was steady. "We don't need to hold them. We need to make them fear us. Fear is a weapon they don't expect from humans." Kai tapped furiously at a holo display. Schematics of alien energy shields flickered before him. "If we can reverse their shield harmonics across multiple points simultaneously, we can punch through entire squadrons. I've calculated timing windows, milliseconds, but it's enough." "Milliseconds are enough for humans," Ilara said quietly, almost to herself. "We survive in moments they think are too small to matter." Meanwhile, news of Earth's resilience spread through the Galactic Council. The ZRWNN Dominion, a reptilian race, sent an envoy to the human station. Their ambassador, Star, spoke with cautious respect. "Humans, your survival against the Xyrian Empire, it is unprecedented," Star said. "Your species, primitive as we thought, has ingenuity that rivals our own generals." Ilara nodded but said nothing. Her focus was elsewhere, the incoming attack. The first coordinated counterstrike was set near the asteroid belts of Varan 5, a dense cluster of mining colonies turned strategic choke point. Xyrian ships advanced, confident and arrogant. They underestimated humans. Again. Ilara's fleet waited in the shadows, barely visible against the rocky terrain. The humans used gravity wells of large asteroids to jam alien targeting systems, while drones manipulated their energy sensors. "Now," Ilara whispered, and Kai's modifications triggered. The human fleet surged out, invisible moments before, striking the Annihilator Squadron. Torpedoes found their weak points. Energy blasts cut swathes through shields. Alien commanders screamed as their ships were disabled before they even realized they were under attack. From the flagship, Thalkarn roared orders. "Encircle them. Destroy every ship. They cannot escape." But humans were already gone, vanished into the asteroid fields like ghosts. Across the galaxy, the ripple of the human victory was felt. Alien empires that had been subjugated by the Xyrians now whispered among themselves. If humans could survive 1 week against Xyrian tactics, could they survive a month? A year? Could they even turn the tide? The counterstrike was more than just survival, it was a statement. Humans were cunning, fearless, and adaptable in ways no alien had anticipated. On Earth, Ilara gathered her team. "We've shown them humans are not insects to be squashed. We've made them rethink every strategy. But this is only the beginning. They will retaliate harder, faster, and more viciously." General Salas's jaw tightened. "Do we have the resources to fight a prolonged war? The Xyrians have worlds at their disposal: ships, energy, weapons." "Resources," Ilara said, her voice cold and decisive, "are temporary. Strategy, cunning, and willpower, that is infinite in humans. We will outthink them, outmaneuver them, and yes, outfight them." Meanwhile, within the Xyrian Empire, Thalkarn convened a council with alien governors. "These humans," he growled, "do not fight like any species I have commanded against. They are small, weak, fragile, and yet they destroy fleets with one strike. They anticipate our movements, adapt instantly, and worst of all, they survive." One council member, the insectoid Krwich, hissed. "They are an anomaly. Perhaps, evolution has created a species we cannot dominate easily." "Then we crush them," Thalkarn said, "or we are fools." No empire in history has survived the defiance of a single human fleet. And that defiance was precisely the human weapon. The humans had learned something critical. The Xyrians were powerful, yes, but predictable when arrogance blinded them. They relied on sheer firepower, while humans relied on imagination, unpredictability, and ruthless precision. Each battle, each maneuver honed their tactics further. By the end of Part 2, humans had not only survived but proved their worth to the galaxy. Alien races began to see them differently. From laughing at Earth as a backwater planet, they now whispered about humans as a species that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. And in the shadows, Ilara plotted the next move. She knew the Xyrians would escalate. She knew the price would be high. But she also knew one truth: humans were not just survivors, they were warriors. One human warrior, she whispered, staring at the starfield, can stand against an empire, and we will. The galaxy had begun to take notice. Humanity's rise had begun. The galaxy had begun to whisper the name Earth, with a mixture of fear and awe. Alien empires that once dismissed humanity as weak now observed every human movement with caution. Yet the Zyrian Empire refused to accept defeat. Thalkarn paced the bridge of his flagship, the Oblivion Ascendant, a colossal warship that blotted out nearby stars. Every day brought new reports of human victories, and each report fueled his fury. These humans are a disease, he snarled. Every tactic we employ, they adapt. Every trap we set, they escape. We will crush them or we will burn the galaxy trying. The Zyrians launched Operation Iron Vortex, a campaign to invade multiple human colonies simultaneously. Their strategy was simple: overwhelm humans with sheer numbers and firepower. Yet humans were ready. On the edge of the Zalvan Nebula, Ilara's fleet lay in ambush. The nebula's dense gas clouds hid their movements, while human engineers had devised specialized drones capable of dispersing energy shields using harmonic resonance. Kai, are we ready? Ilara asked, her voice calm but firm. Ready, Captain, Kai replied, fingers flying across his console. Once we trigger the resonance, their shields will fail for exactly 4 seconds. That's all we need. The first wave of Zyrian cruisers entered the nebula, confident and arrogant. Sensors were jammed, navigation disrupted by the human-modified drones. Energy torpedoes struck the lead cruiser, crippling it before the enemy even realized it was under attack. Impossible, growled Thalkarn, watching through a viewport. How do they anticipate every move? Meanwhile, human squadrons weaved through the nebula like predators. Ships darted in and out of cover, coordinating attacks with silent precision. One strike after another disabled alien cruisers, forcing the Zyrians to retreat in confusion. Ilara's communicator crackled. General Solace reported from another sector. They're hitting our outer colonies. Civilians are evacuating, but the Zyrians are relentless. We can't hold them everywhere. We don't need to hold them everywhere, Ilara responded. We need to make every strike count. They will remember every loss. Fear is a weapon humans wield better than any technology. Elsewhere in the galaxy, the Zryn Dominion debated openly about intervening. Star, the reptilian ambassador, addressed the council. Humans are an unpredictable variable. If the Zyrians destroy them, the galaxy loses a species capable of countering tyranny. If humans survive, they may reshape the balance of power entirely. Back in human space, Kai grinned as his calculations worked perfectly. A massive Zyrian battlecruiser, the size of a small moon, floated in pieces around the asteroid fields. One human warrior, he muttered under his breath, echoing Ilara's words, against an entire alien empire, and we're still standing. Ilara's next move was audacious. Using subspace signal jammers, she sent false transmissions to Zyrian fleets, tricking them into attacking phantom fleets while her actual ships struck vital supply lines. Alien commanders grew paranoid, their trust in each other eroded. On the planet Vaker Prime, a civilian colony under Zyrian attack, human ground forces displayed ingenuity unmatched in the galaxy. Soldiers used adaptive camouflage suits, energy-absorbing barricades, and automated drones to repel assaults that should have obliterated them. Entire battalions were saved by timing, intuition, and split-second improvisation. Thalkarn's confidence began to crack. During a council meeting aboard the Oblivion Ascendant, his advisors whispered nervously. Captain, Carwage hissed, the humans anticipate our moves before we even commit. It's as if they know the future. No, Thalkarn growled. They are not clairvoyant. They are cunning. And that is dangerous. Indeed, humans were dangerous because they were unpredictable. Every failure taught them something. Every victory honed their skills. Every loss was a lesson, never a surrender. In a bold diplomatic maneuver, Ilara sent a message to the Zyrian Empire directly. We do not seek war, but we will not surrender. You may have fleets, technology, and experience, but humans have something no empire can destroy: our will to survive, adapt, and overcome. The message caused outrage and disbelief across the Zyrian leadership. Arrogant, foolish, insolent, Thalkarn bellowed. Yet even in their fury they had to acknowledge the truth: humans were not weak. As battles raged across multiple sectors, human spies infiltrated Zyrian intelligence networks. Using alien communication codes, they fed disinformation, creating chaos within enemy ranks. Supply chains collapsed, reinforcements were delayed, and morale among the Zyrian soldiers faltered. By the end of the campaign, humans had achieved something no one thought possible. They had beaten back the mightiest fleet in the galaxy, not through numbers but through ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer willpower. In the aftermath, survivors on Earth gathered around screens broadcasting the news. Cities still lay in ruins, but humans had shown the galaxy their true face: resilient, cunning, and terrifyingly capable. Elara stood on the command bridge looking out at the stars. She knew the Zyrians would return bigger and stronger. But she also knew this: the galaxy had witnessed the rise of humanity. The species that others had dismissed as weak, emotional, and primitive had proven that one human warrior, one fleet, one species, could stand against an empire and survive. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "And when we rise fully, the galaxy will never forget the name of humanity." The Zyrian Empire had underestimated humanity at every turn. They assumed that numbers and firepower would be enough to crush a primitive species. But now, after weeks of defeat, their arrogance had transformed into fear. Thalkarn, the supreme warlord, paced the bridge of the Oblivion Ascendant, claws tapping against cold alloy flooring. Alien advisors whispered nervously around him, unable to meet his gaze. "They adapt," he growled. "They anticipate every maneuver, every trap. How is it possible for a species so fragile to be this cunning?" Meanwhile, in Earth's orbital command, Ilara Voss analyzed reports from the latest skirmishes. Human engineers had discovered that the Zyrian fleet relied heavily on quantum-locked relay stations to coordinate their forces across vast distances. These stations were their advantage but also their vulnerability. "Kai," Ilara said, voice sharp with determination, "we can hit them where they think we cannot. We can turn their strength into weakness." Kai's fingers danced across the holographic interface, eyes wide as he manipulated the Zyrian network schematics. "If we create a feedback loop in their quantum relays, it will scramble their fleet coordination. Their ships will fight blindly against each other, for exactly 15 minutes. That's all we need." 15 minutes? Ilara raised an eyebrow. "That's enough time for humans." The operation began in secret. Human fleets appeared to retreat, luring the Zyrian forces toward the dense asteroid belt of Voron's Reach. They hid among colossal rocks, disguised by gravity wells, and waited. When the Zyrian fleet entered the trap, Kai triggered the feedback loop. Communications collapsed. Energy shields fluctuated wildly. Entire squadrons collided or misfired, destroying each other without human intervention. The battlefield became chaos incarnate. Zyrian ships, once flawless, now helpless in their own fury. Ilara's fleet struck simultaneously, slicing through disabled cruisers and annihilating supply convoys. The sight was cinematic: giant warships disintegrating in a storm of plasma and debris, human ships darting between explosions like lightning. "Incredible," muttered one Zyrian observer from the council chamber on their capital world. "They are not just surviving, they are turning the galaxy's mightiest empire against itself." But as humans celebrated the victory, a shocking twist emerged. The Zyrians had been hiding a secret weapon: the Stellar Devastator, a planet-killing superweapon capable of obliterating entire colonies. Intelligence reports suggested its target: Earth. "We need a plan, fast," Ilara said, urgency sharp in her voice. "If they activate that, billions die. Entire civilizations vanish." General Salas leaned over the holographic map. "It's heavily guarded, deep inside Zyrian territory. We can't just strike, it's suicide." "Then we don't strike, we infiltrate," Ilara said, her eyes glinting. "We'll use everything they fear about humans: cunning, deception, and unpredictability." A special team of human pilots and engineers was assembled for a covert operation. Using adaptive stealth technology, they infiltrated the Zyrian command network. Drones disabled planetary defenses silently. Human agents uploaded a virus into the Stellar Devastator's control systems, turning it against its own fleet. "We're inside," Kai whispered through the comm. "Once we trigger it, the Devastator won't fire at Earth. It will implode on their command ship." Ilara gritted her teeth. "Do it." Moments later, a shockwave erupted across Zyrian command. The Stellar Devastator, meant to destroy humans, annihilated the flagship Oblivion Ascendant from within. Thalkarn's roar echoed one final time before the ship collapsed into a storm of fire. The Empire reeled, leaderless, fleets in disarray. Across the galaxy, whispers of shock turned to awe. A primitive species, humans, had destroyed a superweapon and decapitated the mightiest empire in the galaxy, without a single superweapon of their own. Ilara stood on the command deck, staring at the debris field where the Xyrian flagship had been. The galaxy's most powerful empire had been shaken to its core, not by numbers but by intelligence, courage, and the unique human ability to turn weakness into strength. In the aftermath, alien civilizations began to reassess humanity. The ZRWN Dominion sent envoys offering alliances. Previously subjugated species whispered secret thanks. Even minor systems once indifferent to galactic politics started sending observers to Earth, eager to understand the species that had just rewritten the rules of war. This changes everything, Star said, his claws tapping nervously on the table. Humans are apex predators in strategy, not just in combat. They're something new. Something dangerous. Ilara, however, knew the war was far from over. The Xyrian Empire would recover, regroup, and return. But humanity had proven a point. No empire, no matter how advanced, could predict, control, or destroy them so long as humans relied on their will, cunning, and adaptability. One human warrior, one species, against an entire empire, Ilara murmured, recalling the words she had once spoken at the beginning of the invasion. And we still won. As stars glittered across the galaxy, human fleets regrouped. Ships bore battle scars and planets still needed reconstruction, but the morale was unshakable. Humanity had risen not through technology alone, but through spirit, strategy, and the relentless refusal to surrender. And somewhere deep in Xyrian space, a whisper of fear spread through the ranks. Humanity was no longer a primitive species to be wiped out, it was a force the galaxy would never forget. The aftermath of the stellar devastator incident reverberated across the galaxy. Alien civilizations that had once dismissed humanity now spoke of them in hushed, reverent tones. Humans had survived what no other species could, defeating the most powerful empire with cunning, courage, and sheer willpower. Ilara Voss sat in the newly rebuilt Earth Orbital Command, surrounded by maps of the galaxy and reports from distant sectors. The human fleet had grown, not just in numbers but in skill. Pilots trained relentlessly, engineers innovated constantly, and civilians contributed to the war effort with ingenuity the Xyrians could never anticipate. The galaxy is watching, General Salas said, his eyes scanning the holodisplay. Some see us as heroes, others as a threat. And the Xyrians, they're licking their wounds, planning revenge. Ilara nodded. We will not wait for them. We will shape the galaxy's future, on our terms. Their first move was diplomatic outreach. The ZRWN Dominion, previously neutral, opened dialogue with humanity. Ambassador Star stepped aboard Earth's orbital station, his claws tapping nervously against the console. Humans, he said, voice careful, your actions against the Xyrians, you have changed the balance of power. We offer alliance, mutual defense, and shared technology. Together, we could secure stability in these regions. Ilara considered this. Alliances were useful, but trust was a luxury humans could not afford. We accept your alliance under one condition, she said firmly. No species dictates our strategy. We decide humanity's path. Together we fight, side by side, but humans lead their destiny. Star hesitated, then nodded. Agreed. You have proven your uniqueness. Meanwhile, Xyrian remnants regrouped. Without Thalkarn, the Empire lacked cohesion. Sub-commanders squabbled over territory and resources. Humans, observing from the shadows, exploited the internal conflict, striking supply convoys and sabotaging reconstruction efforts with surgical precision. Every attack was a message, humanity would not be ignored. But power came with difficult choices. On the planet Viridian 9, a once loyal Xyrian colony prepared to surrender. Civilians begged human forces for protection, but doing so would expose the fleet to ambushes. Ilara weighed the options. We protect them, she decided. Humans do not abandon those in need. That is how we are remembered and feared. The operation was perilous. Xyrian strike teams intercepted human convoys, initiating the Battle of Viridian 9. Massive ships clashed in orbit, while human ground forces defended the planet using adaptive shields, drone swarms, and guerrilla tactics. Despite being outnumbered, humans prevailed through ingenuity and coordinated improvisation. This is human warfare, Kai remarked, watching the battle unfold. No alien could predict this. No one fights like this. Galactic observers took note. Reports described humans as apex strategists, a species capable of fighting entire fleets, turning enemy weapons against them, and improvising in ways no machine or AI could anticipate. Fear of humans spread faster than their reputation as warriors. Even Zyrian leaders began to whisper of a prophecy, long dismissed. A primitive species from the blue planet would rise, reshape galactic politics and challenge the balance of power. Thalkarn's destruction, once a humiliation, now seemed a harbinger. Elara convened a council of human leaders. Plans were made not just to survive, but to assert humanity's presence across the galaxy. Colonies were established on strategic planets. Human fleets patrolled trade routes. Intelligence networks infiltrated previously untouchable sectors. "We are no longer just surviving," Elara said, voice resolute. "We are shaping the galaxy. And anyone who underestimates humanity will pay the price." But even in victory, humans faced moral dilemmas. Some systems begged for liberation. Others sought protection. Every intervention carried risks. Humanity could expand slowly, consolidating power with caution, or strike boldly, risking everything to demonstrate supremacy. Elara chose the bold path. Human fleets launched simultaneous campaigns across 3 sectors, targeting Zyrian strongholds, sabotaging weapons factories, and freeing enslaved populations. Alien commanders called it reckless, and yet it worked. The Zyrians could not respond to multiple crises at once. Humans moved like lightning, striking unpredictably, demonstrating strategic genius combined with ethical leadership. The galaxy began to see humans as unique, small but powerful, fragile but indestructible, and above all, a species that combined intelligence, creativity, courage, and morality in ways no empire had seen. On the flagship Aurora's Edge, Elara addressed her crew, her voice amplified across comm channels to every fleet in human space. "We are no longer the underdogs. We are a species to be respected, feared, and remembered. Every victory, every strategy, every life we save is proof that humans are unlike any other in the galaxy. And we will continue, until the galaxy knows that one human warrior, one species, can face any empire and prevail." And somewhere, in distant star systems, alien empires recorded the words with growing apprehension. Humanity was no longer a joke. Humanity was a force of nature, unstoppable, unpredictable, and destined to rise to the apex of galactic power. The galaxy trembled. After months of human victories, the Zyrian Empire was finally ready for a full-scale retaliatory strike. Every remaining fleet, every fortified world, and every experimental weapon was mobilized under the banner of vengeance. Their target, Earth, the symbol of human defiance and the fleet of humans who had shattered their reputation. Thalkarn's second-in-command, Vaker, led the offensive. Though Thalkarn was gone, the Empire's thirst for domination remained unbroken. Entire star systems lit up as colossal warships advanced, energy beams slicing through the void like rivers of light. The Zyrian Empire believed sheer firepower could finally crush humanity. On the bridge of the flagship Aurora's Edge, Elara Voss studied the incoming fleet, calm but resolute. Her fleet, though smaller, had grown stronger, smarter, and more coordinated. Every captain knew their role, every engineer knew their ship's limits. Humanity had turned survival into art. "Kai, status on the orbital shields?" Elara asked. "Fully operational, Captain," Kai replied, fingers flying across consoles. "I've integrated feedback loops and adaptive harmonics. Their weapons will be partially neutralized, but only for 10 minutes. After that, we rely on agility and strategy." 10 minutes is all humans need, Elara said, voice firm. The battle began in the orbit of Terra Prime, the jewel of human space. The Zyrian fleet entered like a tidal wave, massive, imposing, and deadly. But humans were ready. Small, agile fighters darted between massive warships, disrupting targeting systems with electromagnetic pulses. Torpedoes found weak points in armor, drones hacked auxiliary systems, and human ingenuity turned the Zyrians' own weapons against them. "They fight like predators," muttered Vaker, watching the chaos unfold from his flagship. "They are impossible to predict." On the ground, colonies prepared for orbital bombardment. Evacuation was in progress, but humans had an unexpected advantage: civilian ingenuity. Engineers on the planets adapted mining lasers, transport shuttles, and industrial machinery into defensive weapons, creating mobile fortresses that repelled assaults with brutal efficiency. Amid the chaos, Elara executed a daring maneuver. Using the Zyrian fleet's overconfidence, she led a small strike team deep into the enemy formation, targeting the Central Command Nexus, the nerve center coordinating the assault. Human stealth ships weaved through energy beams, appearing and disappearing like shadows. "Aurora's Edge to Vanguard Squadron," Elara's voice crackled. "Focus on the Command Nexus. Precision strikes only. Timing is everything." Seconds later, explosions rocked the Xyrian fleet as drones breached their shields. Systems failed, communication collapsed, and entire squadrons became directionless. In the blink of an eye, the massive Empire fleet was thrown into chaos. Vaker realized the truth. The humans were not just surviving, they were dictating the battlefield. "We are fighting shadows," he growled, "and every shadow strikes true." On the orbital bridge, Ilara watched as the enemy fleet began to collapse inward on itself. Ships collided, torpedoes misfired, and energy weapons detonated in self-destruct sequences. Humanity had achieved the impossible, turning an entire empire's strength against itself. Yet the final challenge awaited. At the center of the formation hovered a Xyrian Titan-class dreadnought, a massive ship armed with energy cannons capable of planetary annihilation. Its sheer size dwarfed human ships. Destroying it required a combination of cunning, precision, and audacity. "Kai, you still have the harmonic resonance plan?" Ilara asked. "It's ready, Captain," he said. "One shot. If we synchronize with the orbital shields, we can overload their power core. Then we make history," Ilara said, her voice echoing through the fleet. The humans executed flawlessly. Drones disrupted energy shields, fighters drew the Titan's attention, and Kai's harmonic resonance overloaded the dreadnought's core. The massive ship erupted in a storm of fire and plasma, collapsing inward like a dying star. Across the galaxy, alien species watched in awe. Humans, small, fragile, underestimated, had destroyed the apex weapon of the galaxy's most feared empire. Amidst the destruction, Ilara transmitted a message across every comm channel in Xyrian space. "This is humanity. You underestimated us. You thought we were weak. You thought we were primitive. You were wrong. And now you will remember us forever." Every human ship, every liberated planet, every ally watched the message broadcast across the stars. It was more than a warning, it was a declaration. Humans had arrived as a galactic power, unmatched in strategy, adaptability, and resolve. In the aftermath, remnants of the Xyrian Empire retreated, leaderless and broken. Galactic powers that had doubted humanity began to seek alliances, understanding that to challenge humans was to court annihilation. Ilara stood on the bridge, looking at the wreckage of the Xyrian fleet. She allowed herself a rare smile. Humanity had survived impossible odds, turned the galaxy upside down, and risen as a dominant, apex species. One human warrior, one species, against an entire empire, she whispered, recalling the words that had guided her from the start. And we still won. The galaxy would never forget. Humanity had claimed its place, not through sheer size or technology alone, but through cunning, resilience, moral strength, and relentless will. They had proven the ultimate truth: humans were not just survivors, they were conquerors of fate itself. The smoke of battle had cleared, but the galaxy itself seemed changed. The Xyrian Empire, once a symbol of unstoppable domination, had been shattered. Its fleets lay in ruins, its command structure fractured, and its colonies slowly surrendering. Across countless star systems, the survivors whispered the name humanity, with awe, fear, and grudging respect. Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the flagship Aurora's Edge, orbiting the blue-green jewel of Earth. She gazed at the stars, feeling the weight of victory but also the burden of responsibility. Humanity had survived the impossible. They had faced an empire and emerged victorious. But survival was only the beginning. "The galaxy is watching," General Salas said, standing beside her. "We are no longer just a species on one planet. Every empire, every alliance, every independent world knows, humans are different." Ilara nodded. "Different, yes. But we are not reckless. Power without purpose is dangerous. We will guide humanity's rise carefully, strategically, but unapologetically." Across the galaxy, alien diplomats sought audience with humans. Ambassador Star of the Xyrian Dominion arrived with a small fleet, offering treaties, technology exchanges, and joint defense pacts. Other species, long oppressed by the Xyrians, pledged allegiance or requested protection. Humans had become the axis of a new galactic order, not through domination but through ingenuity, courage, and undeniable supremacy. The surviving Xyrian forces, leaderless and humiliated, attempted scattered counterattacks. But humanity had anticipated every contingency. Fleets patrolled trade routes, defended key colonies, and used intelligence networks to predict Xyrian movements. Humans had learned that information and adaptability were as lethal as any weapon. On Vaker Prime, liberated civilians cheered as human engineers repaired infrastructure with astonishing speed. Farmers, scientists, and soldiers worked side by side, demonstrating the human capacity to rebuild and innovate even amidst the ashes of war. Ilara addressed the galaxy in a broadcast from Earth orbit, her voice steady, clear, and commanding. "We are humans. You may have underestimated us in the past. You may have laughed at our technology, dismissed our numbers, and doubted our spirit. But the galaxy has seen the truth. Humanity is resilient, intelligent, adaptable, and unyielding. We will protect our people, defend those who cannot defend themselves, and rise to meet any challenge. We are no longer underdogs. We are apex. And we will be remembered, not as a species that was conquered, but as a species that conquered fate itself." Her words rippled through star systems. Alien empires listened, not with derision but with cautious respect. Humans were no longer a curiosity, they were a force of nature, unpredictable and unstoppable. Yet even in triumph, humans remained grounded. They established the Galactic Council of Humanity, a coalition of human and allied worlds dedicated to peace, defense, and strategic governance. Every planet had representation, every sector had a voice. Unlike the empires they had defeated, humans valued morality alongside strategy. In secret, Ilara reflected on the journey. She had watched civilizations tremble, fleets collide, and empires crumble. She had lost friends, seen worlds scarred by war, and faced moments where hope seemed impossible. Yet humans endured. They adapted. They excelled where others failed. "One human warrior against an empire," she whispered quietly, remembering the words that had carried her through every battle. "And we still won. But it was never just one warrior, it was all of us." Humanity's triumph became legend across the galaxy. Alien historians wrote of the species that had defied odds, outsmarted the mightiest fleets, and reshaped interstellar politics. Scientists studied human ingenuity, strategists learned from human tactics. Philosophers debated the moral compass that guided humans even in war. The Zyrian Empire lingered as a shadow, but a diminished one. Their defeat served as a warning to all empires: underestimate humans at your peril. Their arrogance had been their downfall, humanity's cunning had been their salvation. Ilara stood on the observation deck of Aurora's Edge, watching the stars shimmer over Earth's oceans. Below, cities rebuilt, children laughed, and ships of exploration prepared to chart the unknown. Humanity had survived annihilation, defeated an empire, and emerged stronger, wiser, and dominant. "We are human," Ilara whispered to the stars. "And we are unstoppable." Across the galaxy, from liberated colonies to distant alien worlds, one truth echoed in every corner: humans were no longer the underdogs. They were the apex species. Unpredictable, indomitable, supreme. The galaxy would remember. The galaxy would fear. The galaxy would respect. And humanity would rise.